Hey guys, I'm Shelly, and today let's talk evolution. In order to define what evolution actually is, we first need to talk about genes. To cut a long story short, your body reads DNA instructions and interprets them to create a product. The four letters of the DNA alphabet are arranged into individual three-letter words that are then strung together by the thousands to form a readable sentence, which produces a protein. That sentence is a gene. There are often many different versions of the same gene. For instance, the gene that codes for eye color can result in either blue or brown eyes. These different versions of one gene are referred to as alleles from the Greek allos, or other. So what is evolution? You might be thinking of words like survival of the fittest or imagining things like lizards turning into birds. But the truth is a lot less dramatic than that. Evolution is simply the change in allelic frequencies in a population. That's it. That's all. Evolution is nothing more than a certain version of a gene becoming more prevalent in a group of organisms over time. How does this happen? This is where natural selection and survival of the fittest come in. The differences in genes arise through random mutations. The vast majority of them are silent and tiny, like the changing of a single DNA letter. However, sometimes a mutation is big enough or lucky enough that changes the actual product of the gene. If the change is helpful, the organism is more likely to survive and make offspring, passing down its mutation and making that specific allele more common in the population. If the change is harmful, the organism is more likely to die without making offspring, and the allele becomes less common. A good example of this is the peppered moth, which has two alleles for color, a splotchy light gray or a dark sooty black. Their color is one of their main defenses since it lets them blend into the tree bark that they rest on. Before the Industrial Revolution in 1811, most of the trees were light in color, so gray moths were more likely to survive than black ones. In fact, black peppered moths were almost unheard of. However, when factories became commonplace, the light tree bark often became stained with soot, turning it a dark black. This meant that gray moths stood out more and got eaten more, while the black ones blended in better. In 1895, black moths made up a whopping 98% of the population, a very dramatic change in allelic frequency. Now, the most important question of all, who cares? Well, considering evolutionary theory is one of the most fundamental concepts in modern biology, the quick sassy answer would be a lot of people. But evolution affects your daily life in a lot more ways than just as something for researchers to write papers about. For instance, all of our livestock and crops, and even some pets, are produced through evolutionary processes, with our choices of coat color and muscle mass and body shape becoming the selective force that determines which organisms reproduce and which do not. New kinds of fruits and vegetables are being created to be resistant to disease through evolution by selecting for and growing only the plants that have the traits we want. Antibiotic resistance is also becoming a problem, with many disease-causing pathogens developing mutations that make our current arsenal of medications completely ineffective. The resistant ones survive and breed, while the vulnerable ones all die out. Because of how integral it is to our understanding of life in general and even our own health as a species, it's becoming increasingly important to actually understand what evolution is and how it works. Its place as a core concept in modern biology means that it affects our lives in a far-reaching manner whether we like it or not. It's up to us to educate ourselves on what exactly it does. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video.